Salut tout le monde, c'est Félix Séraphin. On se retrouve pour un nouvel épisode de Dragon Age Inquisition. Alors, je vais retaper un petit peu la causette avec mes compagnons vite fait.
Vivian.
My dear Inquisitor, whatever can I do for you?
I get the feeling there's something you'd like to say to me.
I'm sure I have no idea what you mean. Why in the world would I want to talk to you?
Ok.
If this amuses you, go right ahead. I'll fix it all later.
Oh yes, fixing things is certainly your strong suit, isn't it, dear? Setting malcontents loose among the population with no safeguards to stop them should they turn into abominations. Very wise. I rearranged some furniture. Lives are not thrown into jeopardy by this. Perhaps a little perspective is wanted here.
What are you playing at? What was the point of this little prank?
I merely wanted to see what you'd do. You are the current leader of the Inquisition. It's good to know your limits. And now I do. Be a dear and run along now, Inquisitor. I have so much to attend to.
Ok.
Off to another crisis, my dear. It has taken its toll on you.
You made Alexius tranquil. I wish you'd just killed him. He was a decent man once. He deserved to keep his dignity. I hope I don't run into him. That would be more than I could handle.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Ah, yes. Everyone outside the Imperium always seems quite fascinated by it. Probably why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. Flying cows over Minrathous. That's madness. All right, that one's actually true, but the cows didn't have wings. I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
Corypheus is a figure out of Tevinter history. He was a magister.
Yes, but that was a different time. The Imperium's power was at its peak then. The Civil War had ended. The Magisterium was united, its armies scooping up bits of Thedas like candy. The Magisters who entered the Black City. It was a demonstration of how exceptional Tevinter had become.
But who were they?
No one knows. There's no record of a Magister named Corypheus. All this happened 1400 years ago, before the Blight nearly wiped us out. There are no records. Today, people half believe it's all just a story. That's what I believed.
We have evidence the story is very much real.
But not who Corypheus is. If he even remembers. There used to be families who claimed some of those Magisters as their own. That stopped when the Chantry appeared. Then it was shameful, and the families distanced themselves from the tale. All we know is that some men and women entered the Black City looking for the old gods. What did they find? According to Corypheus, nothing. And only he could tell us more.
Ouais, c'est ce qu'il disait aussi plus ou moins dans les autres Dragon Age. C'est qu'en gros, selon la légende, plus de 1000 ans auparavant, un groupe de magiciens est entré dans l'immatériel pour s'emparer de la cité du créateur. Le créateur, c'est en quelque sorte le dieu de chez nous, quoi. Sauf que leur présence même a souillé ce qu'ils appellent la cité d'or. Et en châtiment, ces mages furent renvoyés chez eux avec leur propre corruption. Et c'est ainsi qu'ils devinrent les Engences. Les toutes premières Engences. Et apparemment, Corypheus serait l'un de ces mages. Du moins, c'est ce qu'il prétend.
Just how often is blood magic used there?
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
That's what any Magister would tell you. They'd be convincingly offended by the notion too. Of course, what people call blood magic here, and what we consider blood magic are two different things.
What's considered actual blood magic in Tevinter?
Blood magic isn't inherently dangerous. Using your own blood or that of a willing participant? What's the harm? The problem is that what's permitted only gets you so much power. And what if you need more? You always need more. That's where we get into sacrifices and demon summoning. None of that is done. Not officially. Behind closed doors, it's a different story. Real blood magic can give you an edge, a leg up against your opponents. It's safe to assume that any mage of rank does it. The rest are quietly shut out of power, to put it bluntly.
You'd think the Templars would object.
I imagine they did, long ago. Once, their investigations might have been sincere. Then their balls were cut off. Too inconvenient. Nowadays, only the friendless are accused. And most of them probably innocent.
There must be some mages who oppose this.
Of course. I do. And I'm not entirely alone. Occasionally, there'll be a magister who makes noise. And then the reform talk begins. All very patriotic. Meanwhile, that magister will be quietly shunned. Chances are, surprise, it's learned he was a Maleficar all along. Most learn to keep quiet. Me? I enjoy the allure of pariah.
Anyone who talks about the Imperium mentions slavery. It's the center of the slave trade.
Ah. That is true.
And did you have slaves?
Not personally, but my family does and treats them well. Honestly, I never thought much about it until I came south. Back home, it's how it is. Slaves are everywhere. You don't question it. I'm not even certain many slaves do.
En gros, Zorian, il vient d'un pays appelé l'Empire Tevintid, ou appelé aussi Tevinter. Et là-bas, non seulement les mages font la loi, mais en plus, l'esclavage y est légal, contrairement aux autres pays.
Well, we don't have slaves in the south.
In the south, you have alienages, slums, both human and elven. The desperate have no way out. Back home, a poor man can sell himself. As a slave, he could have a position of respect, comfort, and could even support a family. Some slaves are treated poorly, it's true. But do you honestly think inescapable poverty is better?
At least they're free. They don't have slavery forced on them.
You think people choose to be poor and depressed? I doubt it. I don't know what it's like to be a slave, true. I never thought about it until I saw how different it was here. But I suspect you don't know either. Nor should you believe that every tale of Tevinter excess is the norm.
It seems strange that an entire empire would be ruled by mages.
Strange? Why are you less qualified to rule than some tart with a fancy crown? Actually, the fiction in the Imperium is that mages don't rule. The Magisterium rules. That magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
What is the Magisterium, exactly?
The upper house of the Imperial Senate, and the only part worth having a seat on. Those seats are split among the circles of Magi, the Chantry, and the major families. All majors now. It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to every Tevinter mage.
If you're not a Magister, then what are you called? No special title?
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
I've never heard of an Altus.
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prophets of the old gods. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later, lower class. If you're not a mage at all, you're Soparati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words.
I thought the Archon ruled over the Imperium.
Well, yes. Technically, he can overrule laws passed by the Magisterium, but that never happens. Even so, he gets to appoint new Magisters, which means all the families vie madly for his favor. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence, let me tell you.
If it's a fiction, that means mages do rule then.
Yes and no. Let me put it this way. Mages do rule, but not all mages are equal. If you're not from the right family, chances are you don't rule anything. Maybe you're even a slave. The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Can anyone be a mage?
Technically, the potential runs mostly in bloodlines, but it's been known to happen. More importantly, commoners believe it can. Tevinter legend is chock full of mage heroes from humble origins. So they hold out hope. Someday my son or my son's son will be a mage. Someday. Poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100 Pillars, at best.
Being a quaestor isn't a good thing.
I imagine the average non-mage likes to think so. Counting numbers and shuffling papers all day is better than many occupations after all. If you're a second-class citizen among a pack of piranha, however, your outlook changes.
Let me ask you something else.
Of course.
There's an Imperial Chantry, isn't there? With its own divine.
You people aren't supposed to talk about the Black Divine, are you? If you mention him outside the Imperium, people make that face, like you're urinating in public. But yes, we do have the Chantry, or a version of it. Night and day comparing it to yours.
Is the Imperial Chantry so different from ours?
Not in theory. The main difference is in the whole magic is meant to serve man, not rule over him business. Back home, ruling the unwashed masses is serving them, for the good of the Imperium. Perhaps it started with good intentions, but these days it's academic. The circles are in command.
There are circles of magi in the Imperium.
We don't have dismal little mage prisons, if that's what you mean. They're academies, prestigious ones. We have Templars as well, but they don't cancel spells or whatever your Templars do. They're soldiers.
They don't use lyrium.
Ha! As if there'd be any left for them. They watch for abuse of magic, yes, but only those who are weak or who fall out of favor get dealt with. Mostly they enforce the Magisterium's edicts. The Chantry smiles and nods from the sidelines.
Do you really call him the Black Divine?
We don't call him that, oh no. In the Imperium, he's the true divine. The woman sitting on the Sunburst throne is some backwater pretender. It all stems from a disagreement over Andraste. Marvelous, isn't it?
Why would they disagree over Andraste?
It's not my field of expertise, but the Imperium believes Andraste was a mortal woman, a mage. Down south they say, no, she's the bride of the Maker, ascended to his side, divine provenance, a blah blah blah. We feel better believing Andraste was one of us. Makes executing her less damning, you see. So we elected a man as divine, the South declared war, and we've been feuding cousins ever since.
So, the Imperial Divine is always a man?
All the better to distinguish him from that other one, yes. Don't think there aren't a number of female magisters who bristle at that. Why can't they be divine after all? Same reason you never see a man on the Sunburst throne. Because that's how it's always been done. Excellent reasoning.
Do you consider yourself Andrastian?
The big question. It might surprise you that I do consider myself Andrastian. I simply do not believe in the Chantry. It is a relic, whether back home or here in the south. Something from a bygone age desperately clinging to relevance. It's not an opinion that makes me popular.
I share your opinion, actually.
That's not surprising, considering what the Inquisition represents. I'll say this. I may not believe in the Chantry, but I believe in you.
In me?
That the Maker sent you, whether through Andraste or fate. Cassandra is not wrong. You saw that in the future, without you, Corypheus prevails. You are our bulwark against evil.
That's what you think. That's ridiculous.
Oh, I'm glad you're so certain. Me? I've seen too much to believe I know everything. The world is bigger than I. Even bigger than you. It laughs at all the things we think we know. The Maker doesn't need me to believe. But I do. The thought of no one at all watching out for us is too frightening.
Let me ask you something else.
So many questions.
I'm wondering if the Imperium would be a useful ally.
I'd think you'd be more concerned whether or not they'd support the Venatorium. They won't. At least, not officially. They'll disavow all knowledge of dangerous cultists. Secretly, many Magisters would rejoice at the idea. And if the South falls to chaos in the meantime, all the better.
It would be in the Imperium's best interest to help. Surely it could use allies.
I think the Imperium gave up on the idea of allies a long time ago. We've been fighting the Qunari for what, 200 years off and on? It's a point of pride that we go it alone. They'll sneer at the South behind their silk handkerchiefs and say, "You've had it easy for far too long." Let's not forget that the Inquisition seems to be an arm of the Orlesian Chantry. Anathema so far as they're concerned.
We're not part of the Chantry. The Chantry opposed the Inquisition's formation.
You think that matters? Don't be silly. The Herald of Andraste. Your very title smacks of the Southern Chantry. You may as well be a heathen. I think they're far more frightened what you'll do if you succeed.
That's all I wanted to know.
Fair enough.
I should go.
You know where I'll be.
Ok.
I'm listening.
Ah non.
I'll leave you to your work.
Je pensais pouvoir taper la causette avec elle, mais je me suis trompé. Ah.
Something wrong with your tea?
It is tea. I detest this stuff. But this morning, I need to shake the dreams from my mind. I may also need a favor.
But you don't need anything from anyone. You're known for that.
One of my oldest friends has been captured by mages, forced into slavery. I heard the cry for help as I slept.
When your friend was captured, how did she...
It. My friend is a spirit of wisdom. Unlike the spirits clamoring to enter our world through the rifts, it was dwelling quite happily in the Fade. It was summoned against its will, and wants my help to gain its freedom and return to the Fade.
I thought spirits wanted to find their way into this world.
Some do, certainly. Just as many Orlesian peasants wish they could journey to exotic Rivain. But not everyone wants to go to Rivain. My friend is an explorer, seeking lost wisdom and reflecting it. It would happily discuss philosophy with you, but it had no wish to come here physically.
Do you have any idea what the mages want with your friend?
No. It knows a great deal of lore and history, but a mage could learn that simply by speaking to it in the Fade. It is possible that they seek information it does not wish to give, and intend to torture it.
All right, Solus. Any friend of yours, apparently.
Thank you. I got a sense of my friend's location before I awoke. I'll mark it on our map.
Inquisitor, you have finally come into your own. The Maker has put you on a difficult path. I pray you walk it safely.
I remember our talk out there before we found Skyhold. It wasn't just the Maker who put me on this path, was it?
The Inquisitor could never have been Cassandra, or Leliana, or me for that matter. We are too political, too tied to the Chantry and all its failings. But I did not make you stand against Corypheus. I did not make you risk death to save the people of Haven. Only you could be the Inquisitor. I only pray the power of the Inquisition is enough.
If the power of the Inquisition isn't enough, we're all in a great deal of trouble.
It may seem overwhelming now, but you have already done more than most could have. The Maker has chosen you to deliver us from Corypheus. You have the faith and support of everyone here. Never forget that. Now, was there anything else?
Can you tell me anything about Corypheus?
I know nothing of the man personally, but the Chant of Light speaks of what he claims to be. No matter their power, their triumphs, the mage lords of Tevinter were men and doomed to die. Then a voice whispered within their hearts, "Shall you surrender your power to time like the beasts of the fields? You are the lords of the earth. Go forth to claim the empty throne of heaven and be gods."
That was one of the old gods speaking in their dreams?
Yes, Dumat as I understand it. In secret, they worked magic upon magic. All their power and all their vanity they turned against the veil, until at last it gave way.
That sounds like what happened with the breach.
Very similar, Inquisitor. Above them, a river of light. Before them, the throne of heaven waiting. Beneath their feet, the footprints of the Maker, and all around them echoed a vast silence. But when they took a single step toward the empty throne, a great voice cried out, shaking the very foundations of heaven and earth.
Corypheus said he found only chaos and corruption.
The Chant of Light says that it was beautiful until the Maker himself spoke. And so is the Golden City blackened with each step you take in my hall. Marvel at perfection, for it is fleeting. You have brought sin to heaven and doom upon all the world.
Corypheus seemed so certain that he heard nothing. He described it as dead whispers.
Bitterness, perhaps? He paid a high price for his crime. Violently were they cast down, for no mortal may walk bodily in the realm of dreams, bearing the mark of their crime.
Walking bodily in the realm of dreams is exactly what Corypheus said he did. But the mark, could it be related to the mark I bear?
I cannot say. Perhaps Andraste saw clearly and we misinterpreted her words. It was always taught that the mark they bore was the shape of Darkspawn. Bodies so maimed and distorted that none should see them and know them for men. That is all I know of your adversary, Inquisitor.
Some of the Chant of Light describes what we've seen and what Corypheus said, but not all of it.
The Chant of Light is the work of mankind. We of all people must accept that mankind is fallible. Listeners may have misheard one of Andraste's songs. Just one word sung incorrectly could change everything. And how many verses were stricken or changed for foolish political reasons, like the Canticle of Chartan. Still, I would trust these words over any spoken by Corypheus. I hope they help you. Herald of Andraste.
Growing up Dalish, I heard little about your chantry. Can you tell me about it?
Of course. Too many think that the Chant of Light should only be sung by humans. The truth is that knowledge of the Maker and Andraste should be open to all who wish to learn of him. We believe the Maker created us, and that mankind's sinful nature caused him to turn away. With Andraste's blessing, the Maker will forgive mankind once the Chant of Light is sung from all corners of this world.
What is your stance on magic?
Andraste put it simply. Magic must serve man, not rule over him. However, those words must be put into the proper historical context. Andraste led a rebellion against the Tevinter Imperium, whose magisters controlled most of the world at the time. Even then, she never called for all mages to be put to death. She believed in peaceful coexistence.
I don't recall the Chantry being as tolerant of magic as you describe.
No. The Chantry is an imperfect vessel, pulled in every direction by those who would steer its course. Yet the Templars rebelled precisely because divine Justinia was not restrictive enough. Perhaps the Inquisition will find a better way.
Why does the Chantry allow only human women to become priestesses?
The official doctrine is that elves and dwarves have turned further from the Maker than humanity. And as for men, the chant holds that they are more vulnerable to anger or passion. But in truth, it is simply political, added after Andraste's death, like too many of our beliefs.
If you don't believe these restrictions are what Andraste wanted, why haven't you tried to change them?
Has the current state of the world not taught you the folly of fighting too many battles at once? I chose to use what power I had to help peasants forgotten by the nobles of Orlais. I believed there would be time to address their inequality under the Chantry once we had saved them from starving.
There were calls for an exalted march to put down the Mage Rebellion. What was your opinion?
It was ignorant gossip. An exalted march only succeeds when it carries the will of the people. Even then, it cannot be undertaken lightly. People are too easily frightened. We cannot destroy everything they fear. An exalted march is justified only against a true threat to this whole world. It is an offense to the Maker to use it as a political bludgeon, or as a means of spreading the chant of light.
A pity voices like yours were not louder when an exalted march crushed my people.
That is a hotly debated matter in some circles of the Chantry. Your people had conquered Montsemerd and threatened Valreo itself. They were not helpless victims. But even then, Orlais was the only nation to provide troops. It was hardly an exalted march of all the faithful. The Maker wishes his world to spread by example, not by war. We win no converts with blood.
Farewell.
Until next time.
Tiens, j'ai un petit quelque chose à choper là-haut.
Thanks for my life in Haven. You've all sorts serving now. If that means change, so be it.
J'ai quelques options de déplacement rapide dans ce fort. Alors, venir voir les personnes à qui je peux m'adresser pour des spécialités.
Inquisitor, I heard a tapping. My skills are required.
And you are?
Speaker Vius Anaxas. I have come from Navarra as a voice for the dead. Welcome them, and they will serve your cause.
Excuse me? You speak for who?
The dead. Many assume that they have misheard. I am of the Mortalitazi. We tend to those who have passed and revere their lives by honoring them in death. And when the living are threatened, we give the bodies of the dead physical purpose once more. Necromancy, Inquisitor. The dead will serve for you.
You're a mage who manipulates life. How is this not blood magic?
Blood magic consumes life. It tears at the living to manipulate and destroy. It is a cancer among our kind. We honor life by venerating the dead. We give their mortal form purpose. In combat, perhaps only for a few moments, but that is still more than they had. More than opposing you normally allows.
You're saying you can bring the dead back to life?
Of course not. The souls of our departed cross the fade to be with the Maker. The body is left empty.
Then what is it that you do?
In the Grand Necropolis, we would usher in a displaced spirit of the Fade, eliminating imbalance. But this is war. Every battlefield has one thing in abundance: death. I turn the bodies of enemies into weapons against them. We do not manipulate the living. We make use of the dead.
What is a Mortalitazi?
We are the caretakers of the Grand Necropolis of Navarra. For the treasured relative, we usher a spirit of the Fade into the void of their mortal form. It honors them both. But when enemies threaten the living, we turn death into a weapon of war, instead of merely the result.
Tell me why this would best suit me.
It is not for everyone, yet we all reach beyond life. You have already killed many out of necessity. To stop at death is wasteful. Death can make allies of enemies. Death can rend the battlefield. Death can terrify.
People will fear me.
Don't you want to terrify? Fear means there are fewer to fight next time. Fear means lives are saved, if that is your concern.
I'm ready to learn what you know.
Then your journey begins as others end. The steps are small, but vital. There is instruction and veneration. Then you'll return. We shall see what this life holds for you.
Hello? Yes, hello. I am your trainer.
Yes?
I am your trainer.
You said that.
Good, because it has been a long journey. The cause is just, and if we don't start soon, you won't have time to learn. I am your trainer.
You seem a little scattered.
It's nothing. I'm just a little fatigued. It's nothing. Thank you. I was charged with studying the breach and the subsequent rifts to discover how they affected traditional disciplines. I was enthralled. So were the 19 others, I presume. They're dead. They learnt the power, but couldn't wield it. Rift Mage Inquisitor. The forces are incredible. And with training, you will be incredible. I know how not to die, and I can teach it. It's incredible.
You didn't mention your name.
I am your trainer.
That isn't a name.
It is what I am. I try very hard to remember that much. There is so much else to keep in mind. Understand, Inquisitor, that I have learnt it all very quickly, so you do not have to.
The rifts were triggered by the breach. There's already a school of magic.
A school? No. Yes. Sort of. The holes in the veil flooded us with magic, and that can be used. It changed some rules, modified them, enough that the careless inverted themselves, old forces in new forms. Others will try, their results will vary, but you will have the best instruction. Because your trainer has already taken the risk. The price has been paid.
Who charged you with studying magic from the rifts?
The Mages Collective. I did not just say that. Yes, I did say it, and we're proud to help. We are nimble, we could move quickly and commit people to this rift magic. Many people. Their lives made it stable and safe. We're very proud.
Tell me why this would best suit me.
You are the Inquisitor.
And?
You deserve power that casts your enemies aside with the abandon of a creative force, crushes them with your very will. That is the promise. Who better than you? You are the Inquisitor.
Very well. Show me how this should go.
It goes places you have been, and some you have not. That is necessary. So the price is not paid twice. Follow the instruction, and you will know the way. You'll understand the power. Then, I'll show you more. After all, I am your trainer.
Ok.
Hold and declare, Inquisitor.
What do you mean?
I ask your intent. I was summoned to oversee training, and I would know my charge. I am your commander in this matter. Commander Helene.
This isn't a formal position. Why treat it so seriously?
Because that is what it requires and deserves, recruit. I teach the skills of the Knight Enchanter. It is a rank. It is a life. Understanding its hierarchy is the first step. You already know this. You were not made Inquisitor and then taught to lead. I will teach you how to rise to your place. How to join your warriors, spectral blade in hand. How to command the ranks while standing beside them. Are you ready?
Commander is a title I associate with human forces.
Knight Enchanter has roots in Elven tradition, but it has utility in every tradition. There are no borders for the mage who wields a spectral blade. There is respect, and there is fear.
Who granted your rank? What forces have you served with?
I cannot say.
Then how do I know you're capable?
You know because I have told you, and I will teach you the same authority.
Tell me why this would best suit me.
I cannot. Only you know if you are fit to lead with more than maps. Do you have the mettle to raise a blade in grand melee? To have your presence make heroes of your charges? This is a path for leaders. You tell me if you are worthy.
I'm ready to learn what you know.
Then we will begin the simple steps, recruit. And we shall see what heights you reach. You have a task, a simple construction. Go, learn, and return. Soon you will lead from the front. Soon you will command.
Bref, là, j'ai débloqué une petite quête secondaire pour choisir de nouvelles spécialisations. Certains de mes compagnons ont gagné de nouvelles compétences. Ah là, Cassandra, elle a gagné une nouvelle compétence, compétence Templier. Je vais refiler le purge en priorité. Bon. Bon, après là, pour ce qui est des quêtes pour débloquer de nouvelles spécialisations, j'y reviendrai plus tard. Ah, petit bug. Voilà, à présent, je vais voir ce qu'ont donné les petites opérations du conseil de guerre. Alors... Alors, là, la petite quête pour protéger le clan Lavellan, le clan de mon perso principal. Rossignol, c'est le nom de code de l'Eliana. Nos agents ont malmené et créé suffisamment de confusion pour que les Dalassiens puissent se retirer discrètement dans une zone plus défendable. Après enquête, vos soupçons se sont avérés corrects. Ces hommes n'ont pas nom de bandit que le nom. Ils ne portent pas de couleur, mais ce sont des mercenaires engagés par le duc Antoine de Wickham en personne. Si nous ignorons ce qui a poussé Antoine à se retourner contre les Dalassiens, il est clair qu'on ne peut pas lui faire confiance. Il soutient officiellement l'Inquisition, il nous a même fait don de sommes plus que généreuses, mais il manigance quelque chose. Je peux continuer de rassembler des informations, mais toute la cité est sur ses gardes depuis que les bandits ont rencontré des soucis. Et le moindre sabotage risque d'être rapidement détecté. Baladin, ok.
Are you all right, Leliana? Are you?
Ah,
I suppose not. Haven was trying.
alors, nos émissaires sont rentrés. Orzammar a affecté à notre cause certains des plus grands guerriers de la Légion des Morts. D'après le roi, il s'agit de chasseurs d'engeance vétérans des plus téméraires. Le roi a également proposé de mettre à disposition ses ressources financières d'Orzammar. Il est conscient de la menace que représente Coryphus. En somme, on est plus ou moins soutenu par les nains d'Orzammar, par les nains. Alors, les ruines de Dars. Nouvelle recrue prometteuse. Et je mets Cullen sur le coup. Et j'ai... Alors, Inquisitrice, tout d'abord mes excuses. J'avais offert aux mages rebelles un refuge à Ferelden, tout ça pour qu'ils expulsent mon oncle de sa propre ville. Je reconnais donc que je n'étais pas de très bonne humeur lorsque nous nous sommes rencontrés. Je voulais simplement que tout le monde quitte Golfalois et je me moquais de savoir qui avait fait quoi. Aujourd'hui, je regrette mon comportement. C'est toujours pareil, n'est-ce pas? Ces cultistes, des Venatory, je crois, ils sont dans le palais royal, à ce qu'on m'a dit, comme des rats, mais dotés de magie et de rictus narquois. Je ne sais pas ce qu'ils manigancent, mais je dois les retrouver et les mettre dehors. Comme l'Inquisition les connaît bien, j'espère que vous pourrez m'aider. Blablabla, toute ma reconnaissance, blablabla. Attendez, vous avez vraiment écrit ça? Vous autres, les scribes, le faites exprès, hein? Roi Alistair Thérin. Je vais mettre Leliana sur le coup.
Let's see what we have.
your
Voilà.
service.
Voilà, ça c'est fait. Et là, j'ai débloqué de nouvelles régions. Principalement à Orlaïs. Alors, Kulen, nous espions et examiner les problèmes de communication entre Val-Royaux et les forces de l'armée impériale de Andalassie. Les deux camps se sont mis d'accord pour cesser les hostilités, puis se sont retirés dans leur base en attendant l'aboutissement des pourparlers de paix. Ce qui s'est passé ensuite reste un mystère. Le dernier communiqué en provenance du maréchal de Gaspard évoque une vague de désertion. Depuis, silence. Nous sommes d'accord, il faut enquêter de plus près. Faites comme bon vous semble, mes agents vous appuieront. Leliana. Donc là, en gros, je vais explorer une nouvelle région. Celle où je dois également aider en passant Solas. Allez. J'embarque pour changer avec moi Solas, Cassandra et Iron Bull. Et ça met un petit moment à se charger.
Inquisitor, welcome to the Exalted Plains, a place with a long and bloody history. Even now, the region is volatile. This was a front in the Civil War. Now there's rebels called the Freemen of the Dales, recently emerged and adding to the chaos.
Ouais, je peux la draguer aussi, mais bon.
This is where the elves made their last stand, isn't it?
Ah, you've studied the Dales. Yes. When offered a chance to lay down their arms and surrender, they refused.
This rebel group. Tell me more about them.
They seem to be simple deserters, tired of fighting and dying for either the Empress or the Grand Duke. Now they want the Dales for their own. Worse, they're more organized than we anticipated. Be wary.
What else can you tell me?
Scouts have sighted Dalish elves. There must be a clan camped somewhere on the plains.
That will be all. Thank you.
With the rifts and the undead, the Orlesians have lost ground. Most have been driven back to their forts. We have to stabilize the region, allowing the Imperial Army to re-establish its presence. Good luck, Your Worship. You'll need it.
Solas a gagné un niveau en passant.
Inquisitor. I've something for you.
What is it?
See for yourself, sir.
Et là, j'en suis à explorer les lieux. Alors voilà les ennemis du coin qui se font appeler les hommes libres.
Keep off the ramparts. I wonder why.
Let's find out.
Alors. Bon, j'avais la flemme de lire. Oula, des démons. Et là, grâce à la capacité de Cassandra, purge, je peux dissiper les barrières.
We've been scouting the region, Your Worship. I've some supplies here you may find useful.
Et je refile ça à Cassandra. Bon, sur ce, je vais m'arrêter là. Allez, à bientôt tout le monde.